What we hear from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy. We want to wish you a very happy Thanksgiving week. Odds are, if you're not watching this live, you're maybe listening to the podcast while you're traveling for Thanksgiving festivities. We hope you're having a safe and happy holiday week, obviously. If you are with us live, because this is a live show, we are live on the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. It is time for our weekly roundtable. It is a fast week for the Cowboys. We didn't stop. We're not going anywhere. It's time for us to discuss how I don't even know what to discuss. I mean, frankly, it's there's a lot of stuff to get into, to be honest with you. Joining us this evening, going in clockwise order, we have the one and only Tom Ryle is here to express some wisdom. Next to him, TC Tony Catalina, a.k.a. Young Jersey Mike, even though he doesn't have Mike at all in his name. Next up in our order, we have Mr. Oregon himself, like Lieutenant Colonel Frank Slater said, in scent of a woman, it is Dan Rogers, a.k.a. Danny Phantom. And finally, rounding our fantastic panel this evening, another Jersey Mike, one of the Jersey boys, Dave Sturchio from Chop Sports. You can hear him on Jersey Boys and on 2 Minute Warning, along with Tony Catalina here on the Blogging the Boys podcast network. You can read all these guys. You can hear all of them here at BTB throughout the BTB universe. Dan, I start with you. Why did you show up if the Cowboys season is over? Dan, you are on mute, so great start for us here. Good vibes for.
No, I guess I wasn't showing up. No, I mean, I thought about taking a nap for 8 months, and just just giving up. I mean, that's it. I mean, that's the third loss of the year. I mean, it's over for us. I don't know what else to say. We can't beat the AFC West. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just ready to call it quits.
It's a tough time. Donnie says on our live stream, it's strange panic time now, but by next Friday, Dallas could potentially be 9-3 and people will still panic. I agree with Donnie. Lots of football is going to happen over the coming days. A reminder to everybody to please subscribe here to the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. And if you are listening on the podcast side of things, subscribe there on your preferred podcast platform. Leave a rating, write a review. Those things go a long way towards helping us out. Tony, you are the resident panic attack. You are Chicken Little. Are you taking Sunday's loss in Kansas City hard? Do you think everybody freaking out is stupid? Where do you stand, Tony?
It's definitely early to panic. I'm not too worried about the actual loss itself. I'm a little bit more concerned with how the loss came about, right? I think if you would have asked me, and I think you had asked me what I thought this game or how this game would go, I would figure the defense would have to carry their weight. I didn't think the offense would be the ones that we needed to step up, and that's a slight worry, but I'm not panicking. I'm not too worried about it. And, the quick turnaround helps to kind of put that all aside and right the ship a little quicker than usual.
Sturch, I know that you guys talked about it on Jersey Boys. You can hear Sturch, Brett Ernst, and Keith Ernst every Monday on our network. And I couldn't quite tell where you landed here, Sturch, and we'll get into this and we'll unpack it. But I think the reason people are panicked is because Cowboys fans made this game into a big deal. When in reality, this Chiefs team is not that great. I think a lot of people allowed themselves to kind of let the narrative of the moment, I know you, Sturch, you're a hopeless romantic. And so you were all about, the big stage and Arrowhead and the chants and Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. And so, but this was just kind of a ho-hum team and the Cowboys lost, and that sucks. But people are acting like they missed some opportunity to send a message to the rest of the NFL.
I think this game had a lot to do with, how it was like a measuring stick for a lot of people. They were wondering how we can run with a team like the Chiefs, who have been to the Super Bowl a couple years in a row now. But it really wasn't the case. And I don't think, I never looked at it like that. I know, according to whatever ratings you're looking at, the NFL, I mean, that game in particular was the highest rated game or the highest viewed game in the season. So we all knew that was going to happen. It didn't really live up to the expectations, but I don't think it's time for us to write the Chiefs into the Super Bowl this year. They're going to have their hands full going forward as well. And I think the Cowboys just kind of, they came out flat. And, I think people should take this, learn from it, and then apply it. And like as Tony just said, I think it's a great thing that it's a short week and we have a chance to kind of rebound a lot quicker than normal.
Tom, Rachel Adams on the stream says progress, not perfection. I'm not panicking. For a moment, I saw this and I thought it was Rachel McAdams. I thought we had an actress going on. Rachel, I don't know what you do for your line of work, but if you were in The Notebook or whatever it is, let us know. But Tom, how are you feeling? That's the first question. The first question goes to you, Tom, because you are our resident champion. You share the title with everyone except for Sturch as a result of last week's roundtable. You, Tony, and Dan all back to defend your title. Aiden Davis slacking on us today. But Tom, the first question: how should we really feel about Dallas? If I could, grammatically get this sentence right, Dallas losing in Kansas City.
Well, it's the funny thing about the Cowboys fan base is like they don't seem to notice anything that goes on outside of Dallas. The Tennessee Titans rolled in with the best record in the AFC and lost to the Houston Texans last week.
Yeah, but Tom, I'm a Cowboys fan, and I don't care. I expect to win every game. That's the mentality, all right? This team hasn't won jack since 1995. All right, the last time this team won something significant, John Elway didn't have a Super Bowl of any kind. All right, so I don't know how things work in Tennessee or Buffalo, Tom, but here the standard's different.
Yeah, because we're just so special. The Cowboys had a terrible game. Dak had a bad game. I think he had a problem with the weather, oddly enough. I think the windy conditions seemed to affect him and that he was just a bit off. There was something on the offensive line going on that I think may have been a mistake. They didn't have their top wide receiver. Their number 2 wide receiver went out at halftime. It's a shame because the defense, after the first drive where Kansas City marched down and scored, the defense played a very good game, I think. But the offense was just a little bit hit. And to me, it was finally the point, and I wrote about it earlier this week, they finally hit the limits of next man up. They just didn't have quite enough. The backups, particularly the backup wide receivers, did not contribute enough. There were too many drops. When your quarterback is a little bit off target, you can't drop the ones that get to your hands. And that happened. And the run game wasn't clicking, partly because the offensive line wasn't clicking. And so they just got mired offensively. Now we need to see if they can fix it this week. I'm not panicked. I'm still, let's see what happens this week, if they can turn it around fast. And I'm still looking at the fact that the Cowboys have one of the best records in the NFL. They're one of the upper echelon of teams right now. They're still leading the division. So, let's not panic.
Just that's what you want to end on. Let's not panic. It's great. That's great. Like wisdom in general, like great advice for all people in all walks of life.
That tattooed on me.
On your forehead, Sturch. Okay, Sturch and Dan, you're going to tag team my next question, but my first one goes to Tony. Tony Catalina. All right. Now I have said myself a few times, different conversations I've had in the last couple of days that, had the Cowboys lost 19-17, had they lost 26-24, we would have sat here. We would have said, well, they were missing Tyron. They were missing Amari. CD left after the first half. I mean, at a certain point, to Tom's point, you run out of dudes, right? Like it just becomes impossible. Tony, we love to sing the songs of Dak Prescott. And I'll ask you this as a setup to your question. So you actually have 2 questions, Tony. And I've been asking a lot of people this, so consider yourself very special. If you could have a team, an offense of Dak Prescott and 10 random dudes, or the Cowboys' 10 non-quarterback offensive starters and a random dude, I imagine you would take Dak and 10 random dudes. Is that correct? Start things off. Start this question off.
100%.
Okay. So that being said, no Amari, no CD, no Tyron, Connor McGovern's a left guard. We understand all of this. At a certain point, we have to be willing to put a lot, if not all of the blame at Dak Prescott's feet because he wasn't good enough in Kansas City.
Bingo. He didn't play well enough, whether it be the wind, whether it be not trusting the offensive line. Maybe there's a little continuity. I mean, it's Terrence Steele, it's Connor McGovern. The left side was a little compromised, I'd say, to say the least. Chris Jones had a feasting of a game, and a multitude of factors. This offense just doesn't get going. And I think we've seen so far this year that if the offense doesn't click pretty much from the jump, it turns into a snowball effect. And it's something that it's concerning, to be honest with you, because this offense has the potential and has shown the ability to be one of the best units, if not the best unit in the entire league. But when, they take the ball against Atlanta and drive it right down the field, and I think they know this team, they know themselves better than anybody else, right? They knew they had to get the ball. They had to get the ball rolling quick, score some points, kind of get that steam rolling. But yeah, it's concerning, and it all starts with QB1, number 4. So it's when he doesn't play well. I mean, this is a obvious statement, but when he's not rolling, he's not clicking, the rest of it just doesn't seem to fall in line either. So yeah, I mean, you got a guy that I view as a top 5 quarterback in this league, and some people may think differently, but you're wrong. So he's a top 5 quarterback, and at the end of the day, if he's not playing well, the rest of the team follows suit, and that's something that we're gonna have to make the lows not be so as low, and keep the highs at a high. But let's just find more middle ground where it may not be his best day, but we're still gonna be able to be efficient and score a touchdown.
I think that's well said, Tony. By the way, the podcast audience can't tell, but that hoodie is incredible. It's Black Friday coming up. Drop a link, and we'll all outfit ourselves. Maybe we get some matching gear. Who knows? Okay, so we've kind of put that game in its place almost to a degree. Sturch, Dan, I mentioned this is a tag team question. If you get this, I was gonna say get it right. I don't know how you would, other than impress me. You're each awarded 5 points. First question of the roundtable, that points are up for grabs. So I start this. I want a yes or no answer only from each of you. Sturch, do you believe, the Cowboys have lost 3 games this year. 2 of them have come from uncommon opponents, and that they're AFC teams, AFC West teams specifically, obviously, and the Broncos and the Chiefs. Do you believe, again, yes or no, the lack of familiarity has had anything to do, even if it's 1%, with these 2 particular losses?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Okay. So this was something that I wanted to think about, and Aiden Davis is not with us today on the roundtable. Like I said, he's a little bit busy, but he was kind enough to do some research on this subject. I wrote about it at bloggingtheboys.com, and what honestly got me, thinking most about this was Mike McCarthy said on Monday that the Cowboys would do a little bit more study on the Las Vegas Raiders, part of the AFC West, obviously a team they don't see all too often. Now, Aiden worked this up for us if you're watching the live stream on our YouTube channel, if you're watching it later. The Cowboys have lost 67% of their games, 2 out of 3, obviously, to non-traditional opponents, that being AFC teams. Teams that have had this particular percentage of losses to non-conference teams in a given season make the playoffs 92% of the time. This is kind of a finicky thing to kind of play with and look at. I realize this, and I realize it's really specific information and really specific data. So I wanted to add to this, Dan, and I'll start with you. Do you know the last time that Mike McCarthy or Dan Quinn or John Fossil or Kellen Moore, the 4 top staffers on the Dallas Cowboys, do you know the last time any of them faced the AFC West? As a coach, obviously.
No.
Do you, Sturch?
All 4 of them?
I mean, they're different answers. So, I mean, can you name one?
Yeah, let's go with 2017.
So the Dallas Cowboys as an organization last faced the AFC West in 2017. They lost to the Broncos that year. They did beat the Chiefs. They did beat the Raiders. Who could ever forget the index card game? Shout out to Gene Steratore, the GOAT. But the last time that Mike McCarthy faced the AFC West as a head coach, obviously, was in 2015 with the Green Bay Packers. Packers were up to play them in 2019. That was the year McCarthy sat out. The last time that Dan Quinn, Cowboys defensive coordinator, who did a fine job, obviously, not necessarily against Denver, but did against Kansas City. Last time Dan Quinn saw the AFC West was in 2016 as the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Now, Atlanta did play the AFC West last year in 2020, but all of those games came after Atlanta had parted ways with Quinn, although maybe he had done some prep in the offseason and whatnot. John Fossil, if you want to lump him in this group, last time he saw them was 2018. Who could ever forget the Rams-Chiefs game on Monday night when our favorite tight end Jason Witten couldn't say Samson Ebukam's name? And finally, Kellen Moore, Cowboys offensive coordinator, had actually never seen the AFC West as a coach. Last time he saw them, he was a player on the Dallas Cowboys in 2017, to your point, Sturch. So, Dan, are you willing to forgive them a little bit? Does that make you nervous about Thursday? I mean, what did I just waste all of our time with all that information?
Oh, that's so many questions.
5 points. I mean,
I
it's got to be tough.
I'm not. I'm a little bit nervous. I mean, there is some. Obviously, there's some merit in not seeing an opponent very often, and we've had some low-scoring affairs against the AFC West team so far. I'll definitely, if we have problems with the Raiders, then my answer is yes, but not really. I mean, there's a couple common things that's happened over the last 3 games, with Denver and Kansas City that do worry me. But overall, I mean, I don't think so. We could say this is a lack of preparation thing from our coaching staff. I don't know necessarily if that's really the big cause, but I'm not too worried. A little bit, not too worried.
Now, I Bleed Blue 365 with a great question says, doesn't that work both ways, though? Now, I thought about this. Andy Reid is the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. And granted, the NFC East teams that Andy Reid saw are nothing, that they've seen before. But still, Andy Reid's staff is a little bit different. They're not necessarily in their second year together. I mean, it does work both ways to answer the question. I just found it to be interesting because it was interesting how it had been so long. It's rare that you go, in Mike McCarthy's case, 6 years before seeing a team. Just it happened to be that he sat out the year that he was slated to play them. Just kind of happened to work that way. It's again a rare thing among coaches who have this much tenure. In the Chiefs' case, it's every 4 years like clockwork. Sturch, did I waste your time? Are you sold? Are you indifferent like Dan? Are you waiting to see what happens on Thursday? Because you're the guy who likes to be on an island when it comes to takes on the roundtable.
I mean, they came out completely flat against Denver, and they came out completely flat against Kansas City. But
they were kind of flat against the Chargers, though. To Dan's point, they didn't exactly light up the score, but they did win that game. But that was a little bit of tough sledding early on offensively.
Yeah, but I think once they started rolling, they started rolling. You know what I mean? Like that game in particular is a honestly a staple win of this season so far on the road in LA. So I think that, yeah, I guess there's some kind of merit to it, but I don't put too much stock into that. I think everybody has film on everybody. So it's not like we're like completely unfamiliar. Like when you're going into a game week prep, you're prepping for that team and you're watching film on that team. So it's just like a coincidence, I guess you can say, that it's been a while for everybody. But as a whole, like this coaching staff is smart enough to prepare. I just think that these games are anomalies. And I think the Chiefs in particular was just a lack of execution on the Cowboys' part. Cowboys beat themselves. The Chiefs didn't beat us, I don't think.
5 points to both of you. Fine. Whatever. It's Thanksgiving. I'm feeling generous. Tony, Tom, you got a lot
thankful for that.
A lot of room to catch up. Yeah. I mean, we've turned this into a team matchup here on the roundtable. Team D in Dave and Dan versus Team T in Tom and Tony. So it's 10-0 right now in favor of Team D. Tom and Tony, you've got the next one. And Tony, we'll start with you. I have a feeling I know what every person in the chat is going to say in response to this question. Their answer also starts with a letter T. 1 to 10, Tony. How important is Thursday against the Raiders?
8. I mean, it's of high importance.
Wow. You've lost the crowd. Wow.
It wasn't a T. I'm not putting it as a 10. Mostly for it's like you said, it's an out of conference game. We've had trouble. Like I'm less concerned with the fact that it's we got to win this week against the Raiders. I'm more concerned with the fact that we're gonna be on the possibility of being on a skid if we don't lose. So if we don't win. So 7-4 is a lot different in my eyes than 8-3. And so I wouldn't put it at panic level because, like I said, the nation of Cowboys fans might panic if we sit 7-4 after Thanksgiving. But the reality of the situation is, and I tweeted this out, everything is still out in front of us. And losing to an AFC West opponent doesn't change that fact. The fact of the matter is we still got a bunch of interdivision games to be played. We're playing against the Arizona Cardinals. Everything is still in front of us regardless. But all that being said, I do not feel good about the possibility of losing the first back-to-back game of the season. And you want to see you get rolling after the performance we had on Sunday.
So the last time that the Cowboys hosted the Raiders, they were the Oakland Raiders, obviously, and it was on Thanksgiving Day in 2013. Does anybody know, the Cowboys won that game, what that win improved their record to? That day, Thanksgiving Day, 2013. Anybody have an idea? Anybody want to guess?
Based on how you're saying it, 8-3.
No, no, not 8-3.
6-5.
I guess you don't remember the 2013 season, Tony. 6-5 is your guess, Sturch.
Yeah.
Dan, you comfortable letting Sturch gamble on behalf of your team?
I like Sturch's guess.
Okay, Tom, Tony, do you want to have a guess? It should not be 8-3. That's my word of advice.
I just thought you were setting it up there.
How about 4-6?
Okay, I don't know how to quantify this. Team D was correct and did not go over, and we do generally abide by Price is Right rules here. So you guys get to go to the showcase. Congratulations to you, Sturch and Dan. The win over the Oakland Raiders in 2013 improved the Cowboys record to 7-5. So to your point, Tony, I mean, Cowboys lose on Thursday. It's like, yeah, I'm not panicking at 7-4, but isn't that a little depressing, Tom, to think that they would be in the same neck of the woods as that 2013 team? And we know that the ending to that season was really disappointing, and that was part of the reason they went, 1-3 down the stretch. But wouldn't that be unnerving? Like, this has felt so much different than that season. I mean, you would theoretically want it to feel much more different, through Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah, if it weren't, I mean, if you look in context to how this season has gone, I think it's more important, just because don't want to get back-to-back losses. And we saw how Dak had a down game. Then he had a good rebound. I think we need to kind of see that again and make sure he's not developing some issues with confidence or something else. And we need to see them get those issues in front of him fixed. I mean, one of the big problems, I think, with his passing was the fact that he was going, they do the drop back. He goes 1, 2, 3 steps, and here's the Kansas City defensive line right with him. They were just coming at him all game long. So, now we're going up against Max Crosby and, the Las Vegas Raiders defensive front seven. But hopefully we've got Tyron Smith back, who was a full participant in practice today. So
on Tuesday, just for the podcast audience that's listening, maybe on a different day. Tuesday is the day we're talking.
Yes. And so, I think it's important because they have a lot to clean up. So, yeah, this is nudging up into that 10 range as to how important it is.
So Tony said an 8. Give us a number, Tom.
I'll go ahead and just say a 10 because it's above a little bit above a 9 for me.
Well, Team D, you guys did pick up 3 more points for your record prediction. So that's an even 13. This was a 12-point question. You guys got it. Congratulations to you, Tom and Tony. The answer is somewhere between 8 and 10, which is kind of what your aggregate ultimately was. It's not a 10 because 10 is 10 is a playoff game. 10 is you lose, you go home. 10 is the season is over. But it's up there. And I'm not concerned, and I don't think any of us are concerned about the narrative getting away, but it would be a really annoying week. And I mean like a long 7 days if they have to go all the way up until New Orleans. And then what's more, and, Dan, Thursday, they're the second game. Obviously, we'll all watch the sacrificial rite of passage that is the Detroit Lions Thanksgiving Day game. But next week, they're on Thursday Night Football. So we'd have to hear every morning talk show, every pregame show, every single team, especially considering that the Philadelphia Eagles play the New York Giants this week, say, watch out, Dallas is losing the NFC East. This is going to happen, on and on and on. I mean, it would be annoying at the very least, wouldn't it, Dan?
Yeah, those are always fun times when we have to listen to that. Thankfully, it's only 7 days versus the longer week that you will get after the next Thursday game. But it's Aiden had a stat I can't remember a couple of weeks ago about how McCarthy responds to
blowouts,
right.
Double-digit losses, right?
So I have a lot of faith that the Cowboys are going to be ready for this one. I am a little worried about with the players are missing and. In particular, Amari Cooper, because they haven't been without Cooper for a while, and he's just so Dak friendly. But I think that they will come, and they're a better team than the Raiders. There's really no reason for them to lose this. If they do lose this game, while it is a non-conference opponent, in the grand scheme of things, it's not, the end of the world. It is going to create this narrative that maybe the Cowboys are broken, and I don't want to listen to that.
Okay, so it's Thanksgiving week for everybody. I know we have some international listeners and viewers, but obviously it's Thanksgiving week here in the United States. Generally speaking, this is when you got people staying over at your house, or you're staying over at their house. You're sleeping on air mattresses. There's a line for the bathroom. There's a line for the shower. You don't know whose toothbrush it is. You got to have conversations. They're going to ask you about your life. How's it going? How's the career? How's the love life? On and on and on. So there's a lot of input from a lot of people. We wanted this to be a little bit of a different roundtable in that sense. So all of our Fantastic Four panelists, and I mean the actual Fantastic Four, not the horrible movie that had Chris Evans before he locked on with Captain America. All of our Fantastic Four panelists have prepared a question. Some of them understood the rules. One of them did not. We will leave that person nameless. But Sturch, you get to go first here. Your question is for your panelists. You can ask it however you want. You can frame it however you want. You can set it up. You can throw it on one person in particular. It's up to you, Sturch. The floor is yours.
I'm a numbers guy, and I like percentages, and I kind of like what Aiden does for blogging the boys. So I kind of I want a percentage question to the rest of the panel. The percentage that you think this Dallas Cowboys team, when healthy, now considering everybody that's not healthy right now is healthy in this percentage question. If the Dallas Cowboys are fully healthy, what is the percentage they win the NFC, not the Super Bowl, just represent the NFC in the Super Bowl this year? With this, as I said, no injuries, clean slate, everybody, no COVID, nothing. What is the percentage confidence that we can take out teams like the Green Bay Packers, the Rams, the Cardinals, the Bucks? Is this team built right now to win the NFC? I'm not worried about the Super Bowl right now. Let's just get there.
Quick question, Sturch. Do we have to assume full health and everything for these other teams as well? Because I think that's important context.
Yeah, everybody's right now. Okay. Let's just say this is week 1 and everybo's healthy, but then the Cowboys.
Zach Martin didn't play week 1. Your hypothetical is totally ruined.
God, you know what I'm talking. Everybody's healthy on every team as constructed. Just give me a percentage of where you think we're going to win the NFC. I mean, I'm looking at some of the comments, very alarming for some of these guys, but one of these guys very optimistic. But I'm curious to see what the panel thinks.
Do you want to point the question at a person that's kind of
sure? Let's start it off with the guy who didn't know the rules to this particular exercise. Let's start with the GOAT, Tom. Tom, go. Give me a percentage, man.
68%.
Oh, okay.
Almost nice. Okay, Tony. We'll go in clockwise order. Whoever gets picked first will go in clockwise order.
Got it.
All right. So for me, I would say a 50-50 shot. And as a gambling man, you like those odds. You take those odds there.
Okay. So Tom so far is a little bit more confident that we can take out the NFC with 68. Go ahead, Dan.
I'm a numbers guy too, and I really think that the Cowboys are one of the 3 best teams in the NFC. So I'm just going to – I know it's not –
Who are your other 2, Dan? Sorry. Who are your other 2 if you have to do
that? Wasn't the question.
That's true.
So I'm going to say – sorry to say, I'm going to say 33%.
I agree with Tony. I like them as a 50-50 proposition. And in that sense, I mean that I think they could win any game against any NFC team, whether it's, one of the 2 teams Dan likes as much as the Cowboys or, whoever they drew in the wild card round. I like them to win any game. I think they have at least a 50-50 shot. And if you told me that I have that at the very least in any game, any playoff game, and that I have Dak Prescott as my quarterback, I feel very confident about that. So 50 is my answer, Sturch. You got to assign these points out. Remember, you're in a competition here. So how do you feel? What's your answer? Where you at?
I'm going with Tom. I like the big
the Homer. The Homer has the big number.
The only thing I could say is Dan gave him 33 because he's 1 out of 3 teams. I mean, technically there would be 1 out of it would be. I don't know. The percentage is wrong, I think, because I mean, if you're saying they're better than pretty much everybody in the NFC except for 2 other teams, I would give them a higher percentage.
No, I mean to me, I think there's 3 teams that could win NFC, and they're one of them.
Okay, so. Salt. I'm good. Not doing any more math, so I'm done.
Okay, that was a good question, Sturch. Who's actually, since you asked the question, Sturch, who's their biggest challenger? Who are you losing them? Who's the other 32% to you?
You talking to me?
Yeah, it's your question.
I would say right now, still to this day, I don't care where it's being played, Aaron Rodgers is still the thorn in my side. The Packers are the team. The Rams have shown vulnerabilities. Brady's felt old at some points, even though he kind of unleashed the fury last night against the New York Giants. But the Cardinals, I still feel, no matter what, I know it's crazy, and they're 9-2. They're the number 1 seed. I still feel like they can win like 12 games or something like that and just fall off the face of the earth. I don't know what it is. I just have this gut feeling.
You know, on the Packers front, Sturch, every contender has a loss that like makes them not a contender. But I think the most easily explainable losses belong to the Packers. That they lost in week 1 to the Saints, and it's week 1, whatever.
Fine, right.
Then they lost without Aaron Rodgers in Kansas City. Again, you're without Aaron Rodgers. And then their like one true actual loss is on the road against a division rival. It's pretty good. That might be a playoff team. So,
Right.
Okay, not a bad question, but just going to go ahead and assume not the best one we're going to get tonight. Tom,
I wrote
you
it down
had
as we started.
you had a lot, Tom, and again, as Sturch mentioned, you really struggled to grasp the rules here in our private chat.
But I have a new question.
Okay, Tom, hit us. And again, you get to start who you want to answer, and we will go in clockwise order.
Okay, and since if I recall correctly, how people were coming down on this question earlier. RJ, I'm going to let you start with this one. Given the fact that Joe Buck and Troy Aikman were really talking a lot about how the weather seemed to be affecting Dak Prescott in the game against Kansas City, how do you still feel about the idea of Dallas should or should not be really concerned about avoiding having to possibly go to Green Bay in the playoffs?
So just a producer's note for everybody. I have to type the questions up, so there's a little bit of an awkward silence if you're asking me the question first, Tom. So
okay, well, that's
okay.
Good reminder.
It's up. The weather thing is interesting. Now, let me be very clear. The best comment that anybody said last week wasn't your inappropriate one, Tom. In hindsight, it was Tony when he said that you said that your answer about not wanting to play the Cowboys in a hypothetical Week 18 game that would be meaningless against the Eagles if it would allow them into the playoffs. I loved how you said that your answer was based purely out of disrespect, that you had no fear of them in the playoffs. And so that's why you didn't care about resting them and hypothetically letting them in. And so in a cousin of that sense, Tom, I want the theater. I really want the theater. I love Broadway. I love epic. When I was in college, the word I said more than anything was epic, and it annoyed people. So I want the like epic narrative storyline. I really, really want that. And I would love, like everyone would, I would love the Cowboys doing the Super Bowl and to be able to say that on the way they slayed Aaron Rodgers. I hate that the Eagles' lone Super Bowl is a win against Tom Brady in one of his finest hours. Like, that has to be pretty sweet that you took that shot and you won. Like, I hate that they have that. And so I really want that. And that's the emotional part of me. The logical part of me, to your point, Tom, like, I think we have some evidence now, and I don't want to be like hot takey, ironically here, that we have evidence that Dak kind of struggles in cold weather situations, or at least is like, we have not seen rather one of the elite Dak games in cold weather. And so I'm willing to sacrifice my narrative and my epic in the name of playing, I don't know, in Arizona to further the Cowboys' cause. There's an ultimate priority and then there's secondary priorities. So I'm definitely more worried than I ever have been, to answer your question. Tony, we're going in clockwise order.
Oh, my bad. I was just so deep in thought in what you said and how profound it was. For me, I don't, like you said, you made a lot of sense. I don't love the idea of going into Green Bay. There's going to be weather. There's going to be elements. And even if there isn't weather and elements, it's still going to be 20 degrees out. So you would like to think our team, based on our offensive line, there's, the reputation they built for themselves, which is, it hasn't been what it has been as of late. But we have Ezekiel Elliott. We have Tony Pollard. We have an offense that should be able to travel. It should be able to play in any weather elements. But then you see, we're talking about me and Dave are Northeast guys. that's a walk in the park weather. Like, I mean, when I saw that the Kansas City game was mid-50s, I'm like, this is football weather. Then you hear, oh, the wind was whipping. And it's like, well, Dak got a big arm. You can't cut through it. So there's going to be a lot tougher weather than that possibly coming down the pipeline. I mean, you still in New York, Washington, we're talking about different situations down the road before you even get to the playoffs. That weather might be a factor. So it's, do I want to go to Green Bay? I don't. Theatrically, I would love to take Aaron Rodgers out and take that smug look off his face. But at the end of the day, yeah, I'm a little concerned. Probably, I wouldn't say the most concerned, but I definitely don't love the idea of walking into Green Bay in that situation.
I hate the idea. I mean, the theatrics is nice, and it would be great. We talked about this before. McCarthy being able to win against his old team, and I agree with Tony also that the Cowboys do travel. They do play a physical. They're a physical team, and they can handle some bad weather. But I want Kellen Moore's weapons to be free of any type of conditions that could come in there and slow them down. So, obviously Aaron Rodgers, he's played a few games there, very comfortable in those elements. So, I mean, yeah, it would be scary. I want it to be a beautiful day, and to just the field not to be all slopped up like that terrible game in San Francisco a long time ago. But yeah, just I don't want that to happen.
Sturch, are you a braver man than the rest of us?
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
God.
the thing. Well, hold on. Like, the thing that scares me the most is Aaron Rodgers in a perfect situation. Like, if he's in Dallas, there's not going to be any elements, and that's going to be Aaron Rodgers. Like, that's
but not to interrupt, but like in that idea, Sturch, I think I speak for Dan and Tony. We trust our team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fine, but I just don't. We've seen it time and time again.
We've seen it in Green Bay too. To that point,
yeah, but we've actually gone into Green Bay and won a game. Like, we've won a game. It's
not in this weather that Tom is painting for us.
Listen, I mean, here's my final thought on this. I would welcome it in Green Bay, right? But here's the thing: we were just talking about the Raiders' importance to that game, right? Then guess what? Every week becomes a 10 now, because if you don't get the number 1 seed, you're going to Green Bay. So every game has to be a win going forward. That's it. You got to win all.
Tom Tybo on this for us.
Well, since the correct answer was everybody but Sturch's answer, I feel like that, I need to award some points. And since we're all going to be eating a lot of pie for Thanksgiving, I'll award you all 3.14 points.
Well done, Tom. Well done. 30 points to Team T. Well done. Seriously, you guys have pulled ahead right here.
Just mooching over
actually,
there like
I'm gonna redact 6 points from Team D because Sturch, you forgot to assign points as after your question. So Dan, you're up. Hopefully you can save your team. It's not looking good. Team T, you guys can you can start preparing the victory speech, I think, but we'll see. You never know. Anything can happen.
Okay, so in the spirit of Thanksgiving, I would like for each of you to tell me your favorite Thanksgiving game over the course that you can remember.
Dan wants world peace. Okay, I like this.
And this is a 20-point question.
So a Thanksgiving game specifically, though.
Yeah, and you start. Yeah, Cowboys Thanksgiving game, and you start us off, RJ.
Thank you, Dan, for allowing me the time to stall to get the banner up here. I mean, first of all, it's only the second year of it, but it's very weird that we no longer have the in 1994, Jason Garrett came in, and that was just such an obvious trope on an annual basis every year. And we'll talk about Jason Garrett, unfortunately, in a little bit. But I like to, for stuff like this, I like to go with recent answers so we can all kind of remember, somewhat recent. I'm going to go with, and I know that one of our panelists was there for this game, just because it is a different kind of fun when your team is dominating on Thanksgiving. I will go with 2006, Tony Romo against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 5 touchdowns. And that was such nirvana. That was they did it. They found it. They hit the lotto. It was the throwback uniforms. Everything about it was great. They lost this game, but another game that is special for me. I don't know why, but that 2012 game against Washington was epic. Like it was epic theater. They lost, but
are you just going to pick all the choices?
My answer is 2006, but honorable mention 2012.
That a great choice, by the way.
Thank you. Clockwise, Tom. Man, you already forgot the rules. 3 points deducted, whatever, from your team.
As I was saying before I muted myself, I was waiting for you to quit talking. First off, and I have a problem with questions like this because
fight!
I have a terrible memory. And so my whole thing is I just want to see the game on Thursday. That's my favorite one right now because I'm looking for
what a cop out, man.
I'm sorry, but I can't tell you what they did last year. And
we don't want to talk about Thanksgiving last year.
That's kind of the way I am. That's just, I know it was bad. So this is just something I don't do well.
Wow.
I was counting on you to give us some pre-90 stuff, Tom, and you really let me down.
Yeah, this was a shock for this is a bad look for Team T. You guys,
it is. It's terrible, and I admit it. But you asked me what year a certain game happened, and I'm just like, huh?
Tony, before you answer, I do want to say I tweeted this before the roundtable started. Thursday will mark the third Thanksgiving Day game for the Cowboys that Tony Romo is calling. Time flies now that Romo will be calling his third Dallas Cowboys game on Thanksgiving Day. They are 0-2 in Thanksgiving Day games that Romo has called, Tony. But your thoughts?
If you're a fan
by the
of
way,
our...
sorry, Tony. Steven Anaya says last year since my number hit twice. So Steven's got some personal priorities going on here. Okay.
Mine is personal as well. And if you listen to our 2-minute warning podcast with me, Dave, and Aiden, I touched on it a little bit earlier. The reason why I love this game the most is in 2018, it was the Cowboys versus the Washington football team. And the reason why I love it, A, is the Cowboys won. B, my brother was a member of the Washington football team at the time. So he suited up, he played. And the entire time I was rooting against them. And the entire time, like, texting him after the game, he was sending me videos and pictures before the game. And I'm like, welcome to the national stage. You guys are going to get curb stomped. It was just, as a personal Catalina moment, the Cowboys won, my brother lost, but it was also very chilling to see my brother, on the football field, on the field that, I grew up loving, idolizing the Star. And I'm like, man, my brother's really getting beat down on this field, and I love it. So it was a pretty cool moment.
Good luck, Sturch. Beating that answer after I took the game you were at. That's the rule here, by the way. You can't repeat answers.
Oh, you didn't say that. So now what? Am I supposed to just come up with one out of thin air? Like,
hey, Dan's the one who picked me. Dan's the one who screwed you out of it, putting you last.
There are a lot of Thanksgiving, Sturch.
No, I get that. I was around for 36 of them. Well, this would be my 36th. But damn, man. That 2006 game meant everything to me because I was there with my mom, and it was just, I don't know, whatever. I guess I can't.
Fine, you can pick 2006 stars. We'll make
only for this purpose. And everybody knows the stats. Everybody knows Romo went out there and completely crushed them. And that was great.
Was the origin of the Salvation Army bucket as a prop. By the way, people forget that.
Yes, and because I think T.O. dropped it in there, right? If that was the same game, right? So. But for personal reasons, the game, the party after, there was a band called La Funk. Like, they're a cover band. They were underneath this tent, right? And they did all these, just covered all like the 80s funk and all this other stuff, right? But the best part was, and I said this story on the 2-minute warning podcast, was that there was a big commotion to the right of me, and I didn't know what was going on. We had already won the game, and all of a sudden, I look over there. I'm like, oh, that's Jerry Jones. Like, Jerry Jones is at the after party. I'm like, what? Like, how? Well, he's like within a stone's throw. And my mother was like, oh, that's the boss? I'm like, yeah, that's the owner of the Cowboys. She goes, we should get his autograph. And I'm like, Mom, it's Jerry Jones, first of all, and there's no way we're doing it. My mom is a little outlandish. Okay, she doesn't have a filter, nor does she care what the scenario is. She bulldozed like the best Moose Johnston I've ever seen. Like, she went through the crowd, took my program, which, by the way, here's a riddle for you guys. Do you guys know who was on the program that day?
I'm going to guess Julius Jones.
It was actually Terry Glenn, God rest his soul. So Terry Glenn was on the program. She gives my program to Jerry Jones. She hits him with it. She hits him on his pea coat with it and says, my son is from New Jersey. He came all the way here to see you guys. Can you get him an autograph? And I'm just embarrassed. I said, I'm only 21 at the time. I'm like, I got to get out of here. Next thing you know, she's like, he looked at my mom. He's like, well, that's a great fan. And he signs his autograph, and I got the autograph in my man cave now. So that's why 2006 is my favorite Thanksgiving memory, other than the fact that we starched Tampa Bay, right? Yeah, Tampa Bay.
Clearly burned into your mind vividly, Sturch. Well, you mentioned you were 21. You had a lot of other priorities going on that day too, I bet. Well, I feel bad about my answer. It wasn't anywhere near as cool as Sturch and Tony's. Tom, embarrassing answer, honestly. Dan, it's your question to award points for, though.
You know what? I mean,
take it home, Tom. Dan.
2006. What is the right answer? That was the moment, and it's always a great moment when you realize that you have your quarterback for the future, which is really what that game did for me. So you both are right. In my unbiased opinion, with nothing personally to gain, I have to award the 20 points to Sturch. So.
Well, it is a team event, so
it is
20 points residually belong to you too, Dan. I would add just to the 2006 lore, because I know we have some younger fans. Welcome to the Resistance, I suppose. The week before, like, that's what made the ride epic. The week before was the Cowboys beating the undefeated Indianapolis Colts that would go on to win Super Bowl 41. They were the first team to knock them off. That was actually, incidentally, the first Tony Romo game that Jim Nantz ever called. So, nice little, poetry happening all at once and in the air. That was a great question, Dan. You know what? Another 20 points for a fantastic question. You guys are really, I've lost track, but Team D is looking pretty strong. So, pretty 28-3 situation going on here, Tony, but you have a question to ask the group.
Yeah, it's time to end the feel good here for a second and bring us back down to reality. No. So my question is, we've clearly seen a trend where the offense has sputtered. We've seen scenarios where the slow starts snowball into bad football games. And in a world we live in now, we're always looking to place blame. So do you think it's more of a coach in Kellen Moore not drawing up the right plays, or is it more Dak Prescott personnel that the players aren't making the plays? What do you attribute percentage-wise? I guess we'll go back to the percentage-wise. How would you divvy up the pie of blame here, right, for between player and coach reasoning for the offense, getting blanked at times this season?
Good luck typing that one up, RJ.
Yeah, that's okay.
There you go.
Tony, there are simple instructions. You ask a question, you start with somebody to begin answering it, and then the train begins.
Let's start with my fellow Paisan Dave.
Okay. I wouldn't say.
I think I spelled divvy right, by the way. I think it's D-I-double-V-Y. I could be wrong.
I'm pretty sure it is the correct spelling. So 10 points for RJ.
Nice.
For the spelling of divvy. I'm gonna say straight up. I mean, it's hard to. I don't like blaming Dak Prescott for anything. I think he's like nothing good. He can't do anything wrong. He's like, I'm one of those Dak apologists. But I am still on this. I'm still in the mindset that when things are rolling, Kellen Moore calls this play that stops the train, and he's done it time and time again. I'm not saying that he called a bad game, but he called a bad game. You know what I mean? Like there was too many wide receiver screens. There was too many things where, like, again, they got a first down. The next play is now a reverse to Cedric Wilson, and he's fumbling the ball all over the place. Like there's just a time and a place to call these plays. So I'm going to give 60% of the blame to Kellen and then 40% of the execution by Dak Prescott, because I'm not doing a 50-50 split here. This is more play calling and this is more schematic. If you couldn't figure things out considering the fact that, the Chiefs defense was out of nowhere really, really good, I have to blame the play calling. I know Dak can make the plays. We've seen him do it, but I've also seen Kellen Moore sputter out a couple of drives here and there, and that kind of worries me a little bit.
What's your numerical answer? Do you
I
have one?
I said 60-40.
Okay. I got lost in the mumbo jumbo. So 60-40, 60 on Dak.
Okay.
60 on Kellen. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I'm on the other end of this. Like I would love to not say this, honestly. But like we praise Dak for everything, which is like he deserves. They all deserve. Like I want to sit here and talk about how awesome everybody is. I think it's 80-20 on Dak. I mean, I think you have to hold him as by far the most responsible person here. He's the ringleader. He's the, you know, he's what you buy tickets to the show for. You don't buy tickets for the opening act unless it's LeBlanc or whatever. You know what I mean? Like this is it. This is supposed to be it. This is supposed to be the guy. He is the guy, to be very clear. But this is supposed to be your reason, and he wasn't. And so I blame Dak. I mean, and I hate to do that, but my blame is also partly based off of how I don't believe Kellen Moore is this, like, Kellen has touched this offense and everything that good has happened is because of him. It's part of why, like, I don't buy this, you know, this take that's been floating around. Like, at the end of this year, the Cowboys need to fire Mike McCarthy and promote Kellen Moore to head coach. Kellen got owned by Steve Spagnuolo, and that sucks. Like, that's a real, you know, trigger for Cowboys fans. He is specifically. But I'd go 80-20 at Dak. I mean, he's the dude on the field. He's the guy, you know, making the decisions. I mean, if Dak doesn't want to do something, he doesn't have to. And that's why I think 80 might not even be enough, honestly, is how I feel. But Tom, you're up.
Yeah.
So RJ hates Dak Prescott. But go ahead.
Yeah. Were we just talking about Dak, or was it just the players in general? Because I couldn't remember quite how you phrased that, Tony.
It's written on the bottom of your screen, Tom.
I know that, but I thought I heard him say something beyond just Dak Prescott, which I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, RJ mentioned he wrote it up there, Kellen Moore and Dak, but I'm talking about like who if you're gonna say player or coach, like,
well, that's what you said, Tony. Jeez, what's going on here, man?
Hell, man?
See,
Yeah.
that was what
this was my exact quote at the bottom.
It is not looking good for your team.
Despite how the question wound up getting put up in a graphic format, RJ's right. And I go back to the
great point by you right there.
I will go back to the very first play of the game when Kellen Moore called a pass to Michael Gallup that would have had the Cowboys around midfield at worst, I think, if they had just completed it, got the Cowboys off to a rolling start, got Kansas City a little bit back on their heels, and Dak just airmailed the ball over his head. You know, he just missed an open pass, a big play that could have happened and seemed to change the whole game, because I think some of the play calling that Sturch saw as the fault of Kellen Moore was more trying to find something that would work because things weren't working when he sent them in. So, yeah, I think it's around a 75-25 in my mind. I'm a little bit kinder, but still the majority of it is on the players. And Dak Prescott, and you know, you got to admit, he is the focal point of the offense, and so you have to give the lion's share of the blame to him in that case.
Yeah, I'm going to go 55-45 on Kellen. And as much as I think that Prescott had opportunities and made some poor plays, certainly if you factor the players in there, there's a lot of blame to go around. But I really think that it also too, if you really look at that game closely, you'll see some of the plays that they actually weren't that bad designed, if the execution was there. So it wasn't like Kellen Moore just really went out there and threw a stinker. But I do think that over the course of how the game was being played out, there was opportunities for him to make adjustments and do things differently. And I don't think he quite was able to do that. And I don't know how much other elements came into play, but I love Kellen Moore. I mean, you guys know I love Kellen Moore, and I was disappointed that he wasn't able to figure some things out the way the Chiefs came at him. So that's where I give those 55-45.
Tony, before you tie a bow on this, Donnie did say in the comments, this is maybe what you were looking for: 60% Dak, 10% coaches, 10% offensive line, 20% on the wide receivers. I mean, who wins, Tony? Make one of us feel good.
For me, it's got to be, and I'm not just saying this, and nobody's asking me, right? So I'm just gonna put in my own words.
We're actually all literally asking you right now. Is what's
no,
happening.
nobody's asking me my percentage. I think Dave hit the money with the 60-40, but I flipped the blame a little bit. I think it's 60% Dak, 40% Kellen Moore, and in this instance, there was a moment in the game where I saw Dak like signal to CeeDee Lamb he's gonna throw the fade ball, and I'm just like, this probably is not the time for this. And of course, CeeDee Lamb gets a concussion, the ball gets picked, and I'm just like, that did not need to be forced in that moment. And then like you said early in the first game, in the first quarter, he misses the Michael Gallup throw, and then there's some head scratching plays. I just think the players have such a big impact in the game. To answer the long story short, I'm going to give it to Tom just because the percentage is a little different and he's on my team, so that helps too. But but I do think that Tom is kind of is at least in the same kind of boat of what I was thinking.
What kind of boat is this?
A yacht.
Oh, look at you, Tom. You're hanging out on a yacht.
Jerry's draft lot. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Respect. So basically, Sturch and Dan were wrong. Is all I heard. As a result of this. Okay. We have two final things to get to. Everybody who's wondering how Tom did not understand the rules, by the way, I told all these guys earlier. I said, everyone bring a question, and we'll all ask it there. Tom, in an ultra generous move, shared his question with the rest of us. And I said, Tom, don't share with anybody. The whole purpose is to, have the discussion and kind of surprise people. And Sturch, Dan, Tony, none of you even know this part. Then Tom sent me personally another question. And I said, Tom, I can't know the question either. So
yeah, I completely forgot the old Air Force principle of RTFQ. So
yeah. So
when you responded, RJ, when you responded to him, like, don't tell, like, I heard your voice actually.
Yeah. So after I told him the second time privately, he said, "Okay, I have a third, but I'm going to keep this one a secret." So good job, Tom. You held out all the way until the show. But one of the questions that Tom blabbed actually is something that we should ask, but we're going to get there in a moment. We're going to end the show with that. But before we get there, I don't think any of us have like a real hot take on this, but obviously it's somewhat relevant to the Cowboys, and we happen to have the roundtable today. Today on Tuesday, Jason Garrett was dismissed as the offensive coordinator of the New York Giants. It's no secret that they had not been a great offense since he took over that position in 2020 after the Cowboys moved on and obviously hired Mike McCarthy. Dan, I know that you have kind of been, to be clear, none of us hate Jason Garrett, but you've kind of been the most staunch Garrett supporter. What do you think his future holds? I mean, do you see him coaching another team in the NFL? Do you see him trying to latch on as an offensive coordinator? Do you see him as some sort of front office figure? Do you see him stepping away for a little bit? I mean, this could go a number of directions.
I could see him stepping away for a little bit. He just looks so unhappy, and it breaks my heart to see him over there wearing that NY shirt. And
you actually had a tweet, Dan, that I thought was really poignant. You said that you've seen a lot of Jason Garrett sort of facial expressions over the years, and that you had never seen him look the way he did on Monday night. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it never seemed like his heart was in it. Like it seemed like he never wanted to be the New York Giants offensive coordinator. He always wanted to be the Dallas Cowboys head coach.
Because he bleeds blue. That he Cowboys blue, and I just I feel bad for him. I thought he was a great offensive coordinator for the Cowboys, but I don't watch the Giants intently, but they obviously, I feel like maybe it's passed him up as far as being an offensive coordinator. I personally, and I know everybody would hate this idea, I would love to see him to come back in the Cowboys front office and still be a part of this team. And I know a lot of people don't care for Garrett, but I wish they could get a sense for how he changed the Joneses, and just anybody of the older fans, especially that's kind of been through those really terrible years after the 90s dynasty, really just saw how Jerry just was kind of ran amok. But so, I mean, I love Jason Garrett. I'd love to have him, back into, a desk job and wear the star again. And I wish the best, maybe he goes, and I know he loves coaching. So I don't know if that's going to be the college ranks or what that means, but he's got a lot of friends and a lot of people respect him. So it'd be interesting to see where he goes.
He could write a series of like motivational books like that. I would read the heck out of those. Sturch, we're all being kind here. Would you want to see Jason Garrett back in any capacity?
Yeah, and to piggyback off of Danny, last night when you said he looked kind of sad and disoriented, like there was a couple times where they panned over to him, and normally like you see like the quarterback and the offensive coordinator like really like talking and going over strategy and look at the tablet, blah blah blah. They were just sitting next to each other, silent. There was no talking between Daniel Jones and Jason Garrett. They were both like, "What the hell is going on here?" You know what I mean? Like, so the writing was on the wall. Listen, I know there wasn't any success with Jason Garrett as far as like Super Bowls or a couple division titles here and there, but I would love to see him back in a front office role for the sole purpose of like as much as like McCarthy and Quinn and they put their thumbprint in the last couple of years where you get the CDs and you get the Trayvon Diggses and you get the Micah Parsons, right? But let's not forget, man, there's no Zeke and there's no Dak without Jason Garrett. And I think that, for that alone, he's forever indebted with us. And I think that look, dude, Ben McAdoo is up there. So if he's up there, then Jason Garrett more than 100% deserves a job within the Cowboys organization.
Sturch, look, I don't want to turn this into a debate or anything, but you mentioned there's no Zeke without Jason Garrett. I think that's a point of contention for a certain sector of Dallas Cowboys fans that would have preferred Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, Jalen Ramsey would have cried himself out of Dallas. So I don't want to hear that.
Okay, but I mean, all I'm saying is, whatever. Tony, would you want to see him back? I mean,
the natural progression of somebody like Jason Garrett and his stature is they either take a step back or they end up in some like offensive analyst role or some position coach role,
like what Ben McAdoo's doing now, or like what Bill Parcells did later in his career, right?
Exactly. So you're not gonna, flunk out of New York, for a lack of a better term, and then fall back up to another OC job somewhere else. So I think he's gonna have to take a step back. He, like Danny said, he's got enough friends in the league that if it's in his heart to get back into a team, he'll be on another team next year. It might not be this year. Would I want him back here? Sure. I mean, he's a wealth of knowledge. Do I want him making, hard and fast decisions on this team? No, but I think he could lend a perspective. He's been around the league. He's been around the game a long time. And, I'm all about building wealth and building knowledge. So if you can add another quality human being in the room, I don't see why it would be a negative.
He's a Princeton boy. Come on,
Tom,
now.
do you agree?
Oh, I don't think Garrett should come back to Dallas because that's not the best place for him. I think we found out that there's a limitation to him as an offensive coordinator. When he's got a great running back, a great offensive line to establish that running game, and a really good quarterback, he can make an offense sing. You take those away, and he doesn't really know what to do with it because he's got a very narrow, we're going to do things our way approach to running an offense. I think that's what was his downfall in Dallas and part of what the problem was with the Giants. I also think he may have gotten scapegoated that Gettleman and Judge threw him out to try to take a little heat off of themselves because the Giants organization is falling apart. What I think would be the ideal thing for him is one of these teams that's just absolutely in turmoil in the NFL.
Maybe like the Giants.
Yeah, they actually need to put him in charge of something as far as building a culture, because he builds a great culture. He does a good job of getting a team focused and straightened out. Now, are you going to trust him as the head coach? I actually think there's teams that could benefit from having him as a walk-around head coach with an offensive coordinator who's actually calling the shots in a more 21st century fashion than he does. But I just don't think he should be back in Dallas. It's too soon. And coming into work in a place for the guy that came in and replaced you, I just don't know of many instances where that actually works out.
Tom, I don't want to give any points away for this question, but I agree with you the most. Dan, Sturge, Tony, you all had great points, and I agree with you. Like, quality human being, anytime you can add that to your point, Tony, that is a net win, no matter what the circumstances are. But I would also add to Tom's point, even the way the divorce, because it wasn't really like a true like firing, that happened between Garrett and the Cowboys. Remember, it was that week, of are they going to move on? Are they not going to move on? Jay Glazer reported that he was like begging to keep his job. It was so awkward. and he is so beloved and like family to the Joneses. I don't want that in Mike McCarthy's way. And that has nothing to do with who Mike McCarthy is. I don't want that in the current team's head coach's way. And so, you know, Jason Garrett will always be beloved by this organization, by the Jones family. But it's, you know, it wouldn't be cool. It would feel really awkward to me. But I certainly would love to see him have success. I mean, I would love to see Jason Garrett, you know, like to your point, Tom, go Raiders. What are you doing? Get Jason Garrett in that building and help you kind of figure things out moving forward. The Washington football team. I mean, although, you know, they have a great culture coach in Ron Rivera. I mean, so I don't think I agree with you, Tom. It's way too soon. Maybe in like 10 years, but it's just you can't do it right now if you're the Cowboys, especially like what I don't think you can do when anybody who's in the locker room has played for him, because then it's just awkward. Then you got conversations happening and, you know, whatever. So that is what it is. But all the best, Jason Garrett, certainly. So final question. Burn 1686 actually said Garrett should go to Philly and mess up that team.
He didn't mess up the Giants.
Anyway, well, Sturch, thanks for ruining it, but I was going to use that as a great segue for our final question. Until, again, you ruined it. Tom, this was the question you did not understand the rules for and used. And so, Dan, I'll start with you. We'll go in the same order, counterclockwise. Dan, Sturch, Tony, Tom. Are we at all worried about the Philadelphia Eagles? All right. Eagles 5-6, you know, a lot of people saying, Dan, Eagles are winning out until week 18 against the Cowboys. They're going to be 10-6 in that game. And to be fair, you look at their schedule, it's pretty easy. How do you feel, Dan? Are you worried, not worried, kind of worried, mildly worried? You still need more information before you become worried? Where you at?
They're not catching us. So if the question is, am I worried about them taking down the East? Then the answer is no. It would take a pretty bad collapse. If that happens, I'm more worried about the state of the Cowboys. So I'm not worried about the Eagles in the sense of, you know, the division. I don't like to see them play well. I don't like to see them. We talked about this last week. I don't want to face them in the first round of the playoffs. You know, they're playing well. Jalen Hurts is playing well. I mean, he's actually like, I think 9th in the league in rushing. And, you know, the Eagles offense is like top 8 in scoring now. And yeah, they got a soft schedule. You know, it's not fun to see them win. And also, too, their future is promising, especially if this Hurts guy, you know, works out. So, you know, I'm worried about them getting better and, you know, in the long run, not worried about them catching us now.
Sturch, I'm actually going to save you for last because you had some interesting thoughts on the Eagles. So Tony, you're up next.
I'm less concerned with the team as I am the schedule, right? Like you mentioned, the schedule is super soft. But the numbers are what they are. I saw a stat today, and hopefully I don't butcher it, but they would have to win 5 in a row, and the Cowboys have to go 500 for the rest of the way. So they would have to, you know, for that game to matter, the Cowboys would have to go 3-3 or whatever the case may be. They would have to. The way it would go is just for that game to even matter, things would have to go perfectly right for the Eagles. And like, I know the schedule is easy, but if the Cowboys go out and take care of their business, that game will not mean anything like we thought it was going to be 2 weeks ago. And realistically, I think Danny hit it on the head. Like, it says a lot more about us if that Eagles game ends up being meaning a lot more than we thought it would a couple weeks ago.
Tom.
Yeah, I'm not worried about them now.
This was your question, so I mean, you know.
Well, yeah, I just was bringing it up because I'd seen people saying that, and I'd seen how the Eagles are absolutely confident that it's in the bag. There's no way they're going to lose a game before they play the Cowboys, which is typical Philadelphia arrogance. But yeah, I'm worried about the Cowboys winning at least 4 of the last 7 games. And I think they need to win 5 of the last 7 to be on their way to a really good playoff run. That's my focus right now. You know, we'll worry about the Eagles in week 18 when we see how the record is and where everything stands, because it could be totally irrelevant. What was the term that I think Sturch used?
Ugats, and that was from Tony.
Tony. Yeah, I couldn't remember which one of you guys from the Jersey Shore came up with that stuff. But, you know, it was just, you know, it's just I hope it is a meaningless game. I hope the Eagles are eliminated from playoff contention at that point, and the Cowboys are locked in.
What was the word, Sturch, Tony?
Ugats means
Okay,
nothing,
well,
zero.
Oh, I didn't ask the definition, but F Kick Crutch, excuse me, says I'm not worried about the Eagles or the loss of the Chiefs. Everything is going to be a different word, Gucci. So Sturch, I have a feeling that you were the most panicked here. That you're the most like, how can you not be worried about the Eagles, man? Look at them, they're rolling. Nick Sirianni, he's my Jersey brother. I mean, like, so, how do you feel?
Here's the thing, a couple weeks back, we're all talking about, what seed we're going to be. And, when we get to the NFC Championship game,
go off.
I'm just saying, like, this is what happens with the Dallas Cowboys. And while everybody wants to call them special, in which I agree with it, I think the Dallas Cowboys this year are a special team. So they should start winning games, right? Like going down the stretch, late November, December, we always had that stigma. The Cowboys can't win in December, like they're going to win games, right? But we forgot about the NFC East. We did. We started pushing them aside and saying, all right, cool. Once we win the NFC East, then we're going to host this game. We're going to guys, the Philadelphia Eagles, as much as before the season started, I thought the Eagles would win like 2-3 games. Swear to God. That was where I was at with the Philadelphia Eagles. It just so happens that now Jalen Hurts is now a dual threat.
He's not a dual threat. He's a single threat. He can just run. That's it. That's all Jalen Hurts.
I'm just saying he threw for $147 last week and he ran his butt off. I just find that the Eagles are hot when you need to be hot, and you need to be hot when it starts getting cold. Truth be told, I just think that Tony he hit it right. He said that the Cowboys have to go 500 the rest of the way, and the Eagles would have to win out. Do I see the Eagles winning out? No, I do not see the Eagles winning out. Reason being is, guys, we keep saying like, oh, cupcake schedule, cupcake. Guys, the Jaguars are beating the Bills and the Broncos beating us. Like nobody's safe. There's no teams out there that are like, you can look at another team on a schedule. It's like, that's a win. That's a win. That's a win. Like, no, it's not like that anymore. It's not like that. You could say that about the Cowboys in a couple situations where like we know we're the better team, but the Eagles can't go around walking like McGregor and saying like, oh, we're just going to win all the games. Like as soon as they lose one, this conversation's over. This conversation's over. You lose that 7th game. The Cowboys aren't losing 7 games this year. As soon as they lose 7 games, which is their next loss, this whole conversation's done. So I'm not really where I used to be, but I still want to focus on winning the division first. And once that's done, then we could talk about other things. But until that's done, I'm not talking about it anymore.
I will say a tiny point from Sturch's overall point that I really agree with. Y'all remember about a little over a month ago, when Tampa Bay was in Philadelphia on Thursday night, all the hubris amongst Cowboy fans was, well, we're rooting for the Eagles now. This team's not going to win any games. You know what I mean? Like, we're all about, conference seeding. And there's a time that like you reach a point where those kinds of things can make sense. I think the time started last week for the Cowboys. We were all rooting for Washington to beat Tampa Bay, and they did, and the Cowboys beat Atlanta. And for 1 week, Dallas was the 3 seed, Tampa was the 4 seed. I think I speak for all of us in saying we were not rooting for the Giants, but we were certainly hoping the Giants were the team that would win on Monday night. That didn't happen, so it is what it is. But imagine if that game had gone the way a lot of people wanted it to. I mean, the Eagles, instead of being 5-6 right now, would be 6-5, and then the panic would really be settling in. Overall, I agree with all you. Not a real reason to worry, but their schedule is definitely very friendly. They do visit the New York Football Giants this week, obviously without Jason Garrett. Burmy Star says New York Giants just got better on offense. They might beat Philly this week. And while, a lot of people making that kind of joke right now, this news, the Jason Garrett news, actually broke while Brandon Gouton and I were finishing recording the NFC's mixtape. And he actually said, I'm worried now as an Eagles fan, because you see the bounce back happen, sometimes in these games. And, who knows, maybe the Giants score 40 points. That would be awesome if they went out and beat the Eagles. So last thing to kind of tie a bow on this roundtable, we're going to predict all 3 games involving NFC East teams this week. I just want an answer. Who wins? Tom, we'll start with you. Giants or Eagles?
I still have to go with the Eagles.
Tony?
My head says Eagles. I say Giants, though.
So your head is not yours. Okay. I don't know what you said either way, Tony. So you don't.
Giants
doesn't count.
Giants.
And you said Eagles. Sturch.
Eagles.
Where is this game?
It's in New York.
Giants win at home.
I agree with Sturch. Okay. Let's go back around Monday Night Football next week. Washington hosts Seattle. Sturch.
I'm going to say the Seattle team has been really bad, but they can't
just
be
to
bad.
answer who's winning.
Sorry, Seattle Seahawks win that game.
Dan.
I'm taking Washington.
Some are saying, by the way, Seattle, the original Washington football team. Tony.
Seattle.
Tom.
I'm going to say Washington. Seattle's a mess right now.
I agree with Tom and Dan. Great job, guys. Tom, Cowboys, Raiders, Thanksgiving Day. Who wins?
Cowboys.
And wait. Who wins? And every week we also award a star of the game on the Dallas Cowboys. So who wins and who is the star of the game? Those are the two questions.
Oh, that's easy on the Cowboys.
Nobody can repeat star of the game, by the way. So
okay, so I get the easy one. Micah Parsons.
Okay, so Cowboys win. Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
Okay, boring. Tony.
Cowboys win. Give me Tony Pollard.
Ooh, Dan. You're on mute, Dan.
Cowboys win. Cedric Wilson.
God
Wow. Okay. Sturch.
damn. Cowboys. I'm going with the layup here. Dak Prescott.
Oh, what a lame answer, Sturch.
He took Cedric Wilson.
What a lame
That's
answer.
what I wanted. I had it.
I
in my
hope the
head.
good
Oh,
guys
this
win
is
and the
great.
bad guys lose. I mean, just seriously. I mean, you know. I will go Cowboys win, and I will say Dalton Schultz. That is my prediction for star of the game.
That's a great.
Who's throwing him those
pick.
balls, by the way? Weird.
Anyway, I shouldn't do this now, but it is time finally to award our winners of the roundtable.
I'll
A big
head out.
old congratulations, Sturch and Dan. Team D got it done. You guys, seriously, incredible job. Do you want to say anything? Do you want one of you to say anything? Do you want to both say something? I mean, just, what an incredible honor. Dan, the floor is yours first. Because you go by Dan. You actually embrace your D, unlike Sturch.
No, I think it was rough, tough competition with Tom not knowing the rules, and they actually argued over one of their questions too. So it was, but no, it's great. I had a great partner. I have to give part of the credit to Sturch, and so finish this out.
Well, first and foremost, RJ with the dirty pun of the day.
It wasn't a dirty pun, honestly. I mean, it wasn't. So, but you just go by Sturch. You know what I'm saying? You just,
Yeah, on this network, sure, that works out. But yes, my the Cowboy. My final thoughts. Great performance by everybody. Tom, you gave us a really good laugh in the middle of the day. I really needed it. It was a stressful day at work. You got you gave us a good laugh. Thank you, Tony. Good effort, but again, falling short. But we're not losing back-to-back weeks, and neither will the Cowboys. So
actually, Dan has won consecutive weeks, as he was part of the winning team last week. So
I'm not losing back-to-back weeks. Neither are the Cowboys.
Dan, as our reigning two-time champion, give us a score prediction for Thursday.
Let's go 34-16 Cowboys.
Look at that. 3 field goals and a touchdown for the Raiders. I like that. Tom, the final 129 words belong to you. Go ahead.
I don't need all 129 because given one of the topics we talked about today, I'm just going to pay tribute to our fellow podcaster, Meg Murray. Cowboys forever, Philly for never.
Have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody.